The relentless Arizona sun beat down on Hunter Collins as he rode into Prescott, his worn leather saddlebag lighter than he'd have liked. 3 days of tracking a bounty only to find the man had died of snakebite before Hunter could collect had left him with nothing but trail dust and a sour mood. The year was 1885, and times were hard across the Arizona Territory, especially for a man whose only reliable skills involved a horse and a gun. Hunter pulled his bay stallion to a stop outside the general store, squinting against the harsh sunlight. He needed supplies before heading back to his small homestead outside of town. The spring roundup was still weeks away, and his funds were running dangerously low. As he dismounted, a small movement caught his eye. Behind the water trough, two children huddled together, their clothes tattered and dirty. The older one, a girl of perhaps 8 or 9, had her arm protectively around a younger boy. Their eyes followed a woman exiting the general store with a basket of groceries. Hunter watched as the girl nudged her brother forward. The small boy approached the woman timidly, his hand extended. "Please, madam, could you spare any food? Our mama's sick and we ain't eaten since yesterday." The woman's face hardened. "Get away from me, you little beggar. Sheriff's already been told about you too. Scram before I call him over." The boy retreated quickly to his sister, who pulled him close as they backed away. Hunter felt something twist in his chest. He'd seen plenty of hard luck cases in his 30 years, but children going hungry always struck a nerve. "Hey," he called softly, approaching them slowly as not to frighten them off. "You two all right?" The girl's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "We're fine, mister." Hunter nodded, noticing the hollow cheeks and dark circles under their eyes. "You said your ma's sick. It ain't your concern," the girl replied sharply, but Hunter saw the worry behind her defiance. "I'm Hunter Collins," he said, crouching down to their level. "What's your names?" The girl hesitated, then straightened her shoulders. "I'm Sarah. This is Thomas. Our pa died in a mining accident last winter." Hunter nodded. "Too common a story in these parts. And your ma, she's got the fever. Been 3 days now, can't get up to work." Sarah's voice trembled slightly before she controlled it. "Where do you live?" Sarah pointed vaguely toward the outskirts of town. "Old Jenkins' place. Mr. Jenkins let us stay in the back shack when Pa worked for him. After Pa died, Mom has been taking in washing, but now—" Hunter made a quick decision. He straightened and walked into the general store, emerging minutes later with a paper sack. He handed it to Sarah. "Bread, cheese, some dried fruit. It'll tide you over. Now show me where your ma is." Sarah clutched the sack to her chest, eyes wary. "Why?" "Because I've had fever before. It's not something to face alone." After a moment of silent deliberation, Sarah nodded. "This way." Hunter followed the children through town and out along a dusty trail that led to a collection of ramshackle buildings that had once been the Jenkins homestead. The main house stood empty, its windows dark. Behind it was a small shack, little more than a lean-to with walls. Inside, the air was stifling and smelled of sickness. A woman lay on a thin pallet in the corner, her face flushed with fever, dark hair plastered to her forehead with sweat. Even in her illness, Hunter could see she had once been beautiful, still was beneath the pallor of sickness. "Mama," Sarah said softly, "we brought someone to help." The woman's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises the color of a summer storm. "Who?" "Name's Hunter Collins, madam," he said, removing his hat. "Your young'uns found me in town, or I found them. Don't rightly matter now. What matters is getting you well." "Natalie," she whispered. "Natalie Bennett, you shouldn't. The children." "They're right here and safe," Hunter assured her, noting how dry her lips were. "Sarah, is there any water?" The girl nodded and retrieved a chipped pitcher and cup. Hunter helped Natalie drink, supporting her head with a gentleness that belied his rough exterior. How long have you been sick, Mrs. Bennet, miss? She corrected weakly. Never married. Thomas's father. Left before he was born. Sarah's was a good man, but the mine took him. Hunter nodded, understanding the unspoken story. Life was rarely simple or proper out here in the territories. I need to get your fever down, Hunter said. You got any medicine? Sarah shook her head. We used the last of it yesterday. Hunter made another quick decision. I'm going for the doctor. No, Natalie protested weakly. Can't pay. Don't worry about that now, Hunter said firmly. Sarah, you keep putting cool cloths on your ma's forehead. Thomas, you eat something, then help your sister. I'll be back. An hour later, Hunter returned with Dr. Peterson, an older man with kind eyes and a perpetually worried expression. The doctor examined Natalie thoroughly before straightening up. Influenza and a bad case. She's dehydrated and malnourished, which isn't helping her fight it off. He rummaged in his bag and produced several bottles. This for the fever. This for the cough that's coming. And beef broth as much as she can take. Someone needs to stay with her. I will, Hunter said without hesitation. Dr. Peterson gave him a measured look. You know these folks, Collins. I know they need help, Hunter replied evenly. The doctor nodded slowly. I'll check back tomorrow. If her fever hasn't broken by then, we'll need to consider moving her to town. After the doctor left, Hunter set about making the shack more livable. He built up the fire in the small stove, sent Thomas to the pump for fresh water, and helped Sarah prepare some simple food from the supplies he'd purchased. As darkness fell, the children's eyes grew heavy. Hunter arranged a makeshift bed for them from his saddle blanket and spare clothes. Get some sleep, he told them. I'll watch over your ma. Sarah looked at him suspiciously. Why are you helping us? Hunter considered the question carefully. Because someone once helped me when I needed it. Get some rest now. Throughout the night, Hunter tended to Natalie. He spooned broth between her lips, wiped her brow with cool cloths, and administered the medicine as directed. Sometimes she thrashed in fever dreams, muttering names and places he didn't recognize. Other times, she grew so still that he found himself watching the slight rise and fall of her chest to ensure she still breathed. Dawn was breaking when her fever finally broke. Hunter, dozing in a chair beside her pallet, jerked awake when he heard her voice, clear and coherent. You're still here. He looked down to find her gray eyes focused on him, the confusion of fever replaced by quiet assessment. Said I would be, he replied, offering water she drank gratefully. My children, sleeping. They're fine. Hungry and worried about you, but fine. Natalie struggled to sit up and Hunter supported her shoulders. Easy now, you've been mighty sick. Why did you help us? She asked, echoing her daughter's question from the night before. Hunter shrugged. Seemed the right thing to do. She studied his face. Most men wouldn't bother. I'm not most men. He helped her drink more water. You should rest. Doctor will be by later. Natalie sank back, too weak to argue. I can't pay him or you. Ain't asking for payment, Hunter said gruffly. Now rest. Over the next few days, Hunter fell into a routine. He'd rise early, check on Natalie and the children, ride into town for supplies, then return to help around the small property. He fixed the leaking roof, repaired the broken pump, and cleared the overgrown garden patch. Natalie grew stronger each day, moving from the pallet to sitting in a chair by the window, watching as Hunter taught Thomas how to whittle and Sarah how to set snares for rabbits. You don't need to stay, she said on the 5th day. We've imposed enough. Hunter looked up from the chair leg he was repairing. You trying to get rid of me, Miss Bennet? A faint smile touched her lips. No, but you must have your own life to get back to. Hunter shrugged. Nothing pressing. He hesitated, then added, unless you want me gone. No, she admitted softly. The children. They've grown fond of you, just the children. Hunter wondered but didn't ask. As Natalie regained her strength, Hunter learned more about her. She'd come west with her first love, a man who'd promised marriage but disappeared when she told him she was expecting Sarah. She'd made her way alone, working as a laundress and cook, until she met David, a kind widower who worked the mines. They'd never formalized their relationship. He'd died before they could, but he'd been a father to Sarah and given Natalie her son Thomas. After his death, she'd struggled to keep them fed and housed. In turn, Hunter shared bits of his own past, raised on a failing ranch in Texas, drifting west after his parents died, working as a cowhand, occasionally taking bounty jobs when times were lean. He omitted the darker chapters, the men he'd tracked and sometimes killed, the lonely nights when whiskey was his only companion. 2 weeks after he'd found the children begging, Hunter sat on the porch steps, watching the sunset paint the Arizona sky in shades of orange and purple. The door opened behind him and Natalie joined him, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders against the evening chill. "Beautiful," she murmured, nodding toward the horizon. Hunter nodded, acutely aware of her presence beside him. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Almost myself again." She glanced at him. "Thanks to you. Doctor did the doctoring. You did everything else." Her voice was soft. "Hunter, we need to talk about what happens next." His chest tightened. Meaning I need to find work. The laundry money is almost gone and we can't." She hesitated. "We can't keep accepting your charity." "It's not charity," he said firmly. "Then what is it?" Hunter stared at the darkening sky, struggling to articulate feelings he barely understood himself. "I don't know, but I do know I'm not ready to ride away." Natalie was silent for a long moment. "The children will be heartbroken when you do." "And you?" The question slipped out before he could stop it. Their eyes met in the fading light. "I've learned not to depend on anyone staying," she said quietly. Hunter felt a strange ache in his chest. What if someone wanted to? Before she could answer, Sarah burst through the door. "Mama!" Thomas found a toad bigger than his hand. The moment broken, Natalie rose to investigate this important discovery. Hunter remained on the steps, wondering what she might have said if they hadn't been interrupted. The next morning, Hunter rode into Prescott with a purpose. He visited the bank, the land office, and finally the ranch owned by his occasional employer, Jacob Whitman. Whitman was surprised to see him. "Collins, thought you drifted on after that bounty fell through." "Been helping someone in need," Hunter replied. "Got a proposition for you." By midday, Hunter returned to the shack with news. "Whitman's offering steady work," he told Natalie as she hung laundry on a line he'd strung between 2 posts. "Spring roundup starting early this year and he's short-handed." "That's good for you," she said, pinning a sheet in place. "There's more." Hunter took a deep breath. "Old Jenkins' place is going up for auction next week. Bank's tired of sitting on it." Natalie's hands stilled. "We'll have to move, or buy it." She laughed humorlessly. "With what? Wishes?" "With this." Hunter pulled a folded paper from his pocket. "It's a loan agreement. Whitman's backing me. If I work his ranch for the next year, plus put in what savings I have, I can buy this place, fix it up proper." Natalie stared at him. "Why would you do that?" Hunter met her eyes steadily. "Because I want to stay here with you 3 if you'll have me." "Have you as what?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "As whatever you'll allow, friend, provider, more maybe in time." His throat felt dry. "I know it's sudden. I know you've had men make promises before, but I aim to keep mine." Natalie's eyes filled with tears. "The children barely know you. They know I've fed them and fixed their home and taught them things. They know I came back every day. And me, what do I know about you?" Hunter stepped closer. "You know I found your children when they were hungry. You know I sat by your side when you were burning with fever. You know I'm still here, asking to stay longer. Maybe that's not enough yet, but it's a start." A tear slipped down Natalie's cheek. "I can't let myself hope again. It hurts too much when it all falls apart." "Then don't hope," Hunter said gently. "Just let me prove myself day by day." In the weeks that followed, Hunter divided his time between Whitman's ranch and the Jenkins place. True to his word, he purchased the property at auction, using his savings and Whitman's loan. The children were overjoyed to learn they wouldn't have to leave their home. Natalie was more cautious, but Hunter noticed small changes. She began setting a place for him at every meal, without asking if he'd be there. She planted flowers along the path to the main house, which he was slowly repairing. And sometimes, when she thought he wasn't looking, he caught her watching him with an expression that made his heart beat faster. Spring turned to summer. Hunter moved from the shack to the main house once he'd made it habitable, giving Natalie and the children the larger space while he took a small room at the back. He taught Thomas to ride on a gentle mare he'd purchased, and helped Sarah learn her letters using books borrowed from the schoolteacher in town. One evening in late July, as fireflies blinked in the gathering dusk, Hunter sat on the porch steps cleaning his tack. Natalie joined him, a cup of coffee in her hands. "The children are asleep," she said, offering him the cup. Hunter accepted it gratefully. "Thomas wore himself out helping with the fence today. You're good with him, with both of them." Natalie settled beside him. "They adore you." Feelings mutual. Hunter took a sip of coffee. "They're good kids. They need a father." Hunter's hand stilled. "You offering me the position?" Natalie turned to look at him directly. In the soft twilight, her gray eyes reflected the last of the day's light. "I'm saying I've watched you these past months. You've kept every promise. You've never raised your voice even when Thomas broke your whittling knife. You've worked from sunrise to sunset making this place a home." "It's worth it," Hunter said simply. "Why?" she pressed. "And don't say it's for the children." Hunter set the tack aside and turned to face her fully. "Because from the moment I saw you, even sick with fever, something in me recognized something in you, like I'd been looking for you without knowing it." Natalie's breath caught. "I've been afraid to believe this could be real." "It's real," Hunter assured her. He hesitated, then slowly reached for her hand. When she didn't pull away, he entwined his fingers with hers. "I'm not a perfect man, Natalie. I've done things I'm not proud of. But I promise you this: I will never abandon you or the children. I will never break your trust." Natalie's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I believe you." The admission hung between them, delicate and profound. Hunter leaned forward slowly, giving her every chance to retreat. She didn't. Their lips met in a kiss so gentle it was barely there, yet it sent a current through Hunter's body like nothing he'd ever felt. When they separated, Natalie's cheeks were flushed. "That was a beginning," Hunter suggested. She nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "A beginning." As summer waned, the relationship between Hunter and Natalie deepened. They spoke of the future, of expanding the house, of perhaps one day making their arrangement official. Hunter broached the subject of adoption, wanting to give the children his name and legal protection. "They already think of you as their father," Natalie told him one night as they sat on the porch after the children were asleep. "Sarah asked me yesterday when we were going to be a real family." Hunter smiled. "Smart girl. What did you tell her?" "That we already are a real family." "But that sometimes grown-ups need time to be sure of things." "And are you sure?" Natalie reached for his hand. "More every day." In September, Whitman offered Hunter a partnership in a small cattle operation he was starting on adjacent land. The arrangement would mean security for their future and the chance to build something lasting. "I want to do this right," Hunter told Natalie after sharing the news. "I want to court you properly, ask for your hand like a gentleman would." Natalie laughed, the sound light and free in a way it hadn't been when they first met. Hunter Collins, you've been courting me since the day you found my children begging for food. You've already asked for my hand in 100 different ways every time you fixed something in this house, every time you taught Thomas something new, every time you looked at me like I was the sunrise. Hunter pulled her close. Is that a yes, then? It's a yes, she whispered against his lips. They were married in the small church in Prescott on a crisp October day, with Sarah as the flower girl and Thomas proudly bearing the rings. Whitman stood as Hunter's best man, and Dr. Peterson gave Natalie away. Never thought I'd see you settled, Collins, Whitman remarked at the small celebration afterward. That woman and those kids have worked a miracle on you. Hunter watched as Natalie laughed with Sarah across the room, her gray eyes bright with happiness. No miracle. Just found what I was looking for without knowing I was searching. The first year of marriage brought challenges. Winter was harsh, and there were times when money was tight despite Hunter's work with Whitman. But there were joys, too, expanding the house to add a proper bedroom for the children, watching Sarah excel at the town school, teaching Thomas to track and hunt. And there was the night, almost exactly a year after Hunter had first found the children begging, when Natalie took his hand and placed it on her still flat stomach. Are you certain? He asked, voice thick with emotion. She nodded, eyes shining. Dr. Peterson confirmed it yesterday. Early June, he thinks. Hunter gathered her in his arms, overwhelmed by the thought of their child growing within her. I love you, he whispered against her hair. All of you. The news delighted Sarah and Thomas. Sarah immediately began planning all the things she would teach her new sibling, while Thomas solemnly promised to be the best big brother possible. As Natalie's pregnancy progressed, the Bennett Collins household settled into a rhythm of domestic contentment that Hunter had never imagined possible for himself. The nightmares that had once plagued him echoes of violent days as a bounty hunter faded, replaced by dreams of the future. Spring brought new calves to their small herd, wildflowers to the meadow behind the house, and a roundness to Natalie's figure that Hunter found endlessly fascinating. You're staring again, she chided one evening as she prepared supper. Hunter didn't deny it. Can't help it. You're beautiful. She laughed, resting a hand on her swollen belly. I'm as big as a house. Beautiful, he repeated, coming to stand behind her, his hands covering hers over their growing child. On a warm June morning, after a labor that left Hunter pacing anxiously with Thomas while Sarah helped the midwife, Natalie gave birth to a son. They named him Henry, after Hunter's father, with David as his middle name to honor Thomas's father. Holding his son for the first time, Hunter felt a completion he hadn't known was possible. Looking from the tiny face to Natalie's tired but radiant one, he knew with absolute certainty that every step of his life, even the darkest ones, had been leading him here, to this family, to this moment. Thank you, he whispered to Natalie. She understood what he meant. Thank you for finding us, she replied. For staying. The years that followed brought both joys and sorrows. Their herd grew, allowing them to build a larger house on the property. Sarah blossomed into a young woman with dreams of becoming a teacher. Thomas developed his father's skill with horses and his mother's quiet determination. Little Henry was joined by a sister, Grace, 2 years later, and eventually by another brother, William. The house that had once been a lonely shack became a home filled with laughter, occasional arguments, and the everyday miracles of family life. There were difficult times, too, a drought that nearly ruined them, an accident that left Hunter bedridden for weeks. The winter Sarah fell ill with the same fever that had once nearly taken her mother. But through it all, the foundation remained solid. Hunter and Natalie faced each challenge together, their love deepening with each passing year. On their 10th anniversary, Hunter took Natalie for a ride to the hill overlooking their property. The autumn sunshine gilded the land, their house visible in the distance with smoke curling from the chimney. "Happy?" he asked as they dismounted. Natalie smiled, the years having added character rather than diminished her beauty. "Beyond anything I could have imagined that day you found Sarah and Thomas begging." Hunter took her hand, marveling as he often did at how perfectly it fit in his. "I was lost before you," he admitted, "drifting without purpose. And now—" He gestured toward their home, where their children were likely engaged in their various activities, Sarah preparing for her first teaching position, Thomas training a new colt, the younger ones at their lessons or chores. "Now I'm found," Hunter said simply. "Every day I'm found again." Natalie leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder as they watched the sun begin its descent toward the horizon. "I never believed in second chances before you," she said softly, "or third ones for that matter." Hunter pressed a kiss to her temple. "I'll give you as many chances as you need. Forever." As they rode back home in the gathering dusk, Hunter reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a chance encounter with two hungry children to a life richer than he'd ever dreamed possible. He thought of the man he'd been solitary, hardened by life, and marveled at the transformation love had wrought. Ahead, their home glowed with warm light from the windows. As they approached, the front door burst open and their youngest son William raced out to meet them, followed more sedately by Grace and Henry. From the porch, Thomas waved, the spitting image of Hunter at that age. "Papa, Mama," William called excitedly. "Sarah's got a letter from the school board, and I caught a fish bigger than my arm in the creek." Hunter dismounted, lifting his youngest son into his arms while helping Natalie down from her horse. Their eyes met over William's head, a lifetime of understanding passing between them. This, Hunter thought, was what he'd been searching for all along. Not gold or glory or even redemption, but this a hand to hold in the darkness, children to guide toward the light, a place to belong. As the family moved together toward the house, the first stars appearing in the darkening sky above them, Hunter sent a silent prayer of gratitude to whatever twist of fate had led him to Prescott on that dusty day years ago, for bringing him to a water trough where two hungry children had waited, for giving him the chance to help a fever-stricken woman in a ramshackle shack, for leading him home. Years later, when their grandchildren gathered around asking how they met, Hunter and Natalie would exchange a smile before beginning the tale. "It was a hot day in Prescott," Hunter would start, his hand finding Natalie's as naturally as breathing. "And I found two hungry children begging for food." And Natalie would finish. "And he found me, sick with fever in a shack. He saved us all, though he'll never admit it." Hunter would always shake his head at this part. "No," he'd correct gently, "we saved each other." On their 30th anniversary, with Sarah married with children of her own, Thomas running the ranch alongside his father, and their younger children forging their own paths, Hunter and Natalie stood once again on the hill overlooking their property. "If I had known, that day in town, where helping those children would lead me," Hunter mused, "I'd have thought it too good to be true." Natalie, her dark hair now threaded with silver but her gray eyes as clear and beautiful as ever, leaned against his shoulder. "Sometimes the best journeys start with a simple act of kindness." Hunter nodded, thinking of all the moments that had led them here, the nights by her side, the first tentative kiss on the porch, the children born and raised, the struggles weathered together. "I love you, Natalie Collins," he said, the words no less true for having been said countless times over 3 decades. "And I love you, Hunter Collins," she replied, reaching up to touch his weathered cheek. "Thank you for finding us." As the sun set on another day of their shared life, Hunter held his wife close, marveling at how a chance encounter had become destiny. In a land often defined by harshness and struggle, they had built something enduring and beautiful. A legacy of love that had begun with two hungry children, a fever-stricken woman, and a cowboy who had finally found his way home. The Arizona evening wrapped around them like a blanket as they made their way back to the house, where lights burned in welcome and memories lived in every corner. Whatever the future held, they would face it as they had faced everything for 30 years together. Their love a constant in an ever-changing world, their family the greatest treasure either could have imagined. And in the quiet moments when the house was still and the night stretched out before them, Hunter would sometimes whisper against Natalie's hair, "Every day, I thank God I found you." To which Natalie would always reply, her voice soft with the wisdom of years, "And every day I thank God you stayed."